from start to finish has so many things, so many factors into it. If you're a fan of gambling, if you're a fan of basketball, if you're a fan of the mafia, this has everything for you. Cole, I'm just going to let you have the floor, man, because I feel like I'm giving away too many spoilers, but without giving away too many spoilers to the best of your ability, man, sum it up. I mean, this is the Whistleblower Podcast. Man, what does it entail? Take it away.
Well, I'd be curious to see how many of the listeners would actually be aware of this story and remember this story. Back in 2007, an NBA ref was caught betting on games that he officiated. That ref's name was Tim Donaghy, and we've worked with Tim Donaghy through this process. We went down to Florida and interviewed him, got his side of the story, and the first few episodes explore the scandal itself and his role in it, and also reveals a few more details about and provides more evidence that Tim Donaghy himself did actually manipulate these games. He likes to say that he was unbiased going into these games and on the court, which, I mean, human bias, especially in gambling, if you knew that you had money on a certain team, subconsciously at the very least, you would be affected, right? I mean, I think I speak for everyone that it would take a very special kind of human to be able to block that out.
Yeah, for sure. So Tim Donaghy, NBA ref in 2007, gets caught for, they're catching basically a man in the middle of the act. And at first, at face value, as you alluded to, you would think it was Tim Donaghy just at the forefront. At face value, it was just him. But as the podcast goes, we unravel, you guys unravel a lot more behind this story. I want to talk about real quick, because we talked about this pre-show. We were so young when this happened, and I know that you alluded to the fact that you remembered it, but some specs of it you were interested at a very young age. How did this come to fruition?
Yeah, I mean, when Tim Livingston started investigating this story, I mean, it was 2012, and I was 15 years old. I was a sophomore in high school. At that point, I wanted to be, a print sports journalist, and I kind of took a left turn, obviously, in college, but to do podcasts. And when the scandal broke, I was 10 years old, and those were the days, that we would turn on SportsCenter and have it loop 2 or 3 times during the day. I mean, we had nothing better to do. Streaming wasn't a thing. I mean, you either played video games or you had SportsCenter on in the morning, that's for sure. So it was those days, and there was a lot of stories at the time, and the NBA tried their best to cover it up. And to their benefit, actually, another news story at that time in the sports world was the Michael Vick dogfighting scandal. I mean, I think that broke either a week or two around the NBA scandal breaking. And I think that sports outlets kind of ran with that Michael Vick story over this one, and this kind of got lost in the mix. And that's very beneficial for the NBA. But then you start to look at the evidence surrounding the rapidness of this story just getting buried, and also the NBA's role in getting it buried. And if Tim Donaghy is truly a rogue referee, if he is truly an isolated incident, wouldn't you want, if you're David Stern at that time, as much transparency as possible to let the fans know that this is a legitimate operation? Why would you try to hide anything?
I will mention this, and this kind of like the one last thing before you go. And again, Cole, thank you so much for joining us. I know it's in the wee hours of the morning, but I am going to ask you this. So in a certain episode, again, I don't want to spoil it, and I want you guys to listen to this, and so I'm trying to do my best here. Delco County is a crucial part of this. If you get into this podcast, Delco, Delaware County in Pennsylvania is going to be a crucial part of this storyline. A lot of NBA refs honed from this county. I want to ask you, and I don't know if you necessarily fulfilled answering the question, although you guys had, phenomenal journalism. I mean, you went about it the way you should. Do you think NBA refs still do it to this day? Or do you think it's pretty much betting on games is diminished?
I mean, yeah, that's a great question. I think that there are certain officials that are still involved with the NBA. I mean, you look at this year's playoffs, for example. You look at the Porzingis ejection. And you look at the soft technical fouls against him, and it's clear that something's still up. But I do think that the Adam Silver era of the NBA is way more transparent. I mean, David Stern was Machiavellian in his tactics. I think that Adam Silver learned from David Stern, but he also learned from his mistakes. He learned where he really upset the fans. He learned where he could be more transparent with the process. And as we move into a world where gambling is so prevalent and is legal in all these states, you need that transparency. You need to give the fans the ability to say, I trust in what I'm betting. I trust in the integrity of the game. Because otherwise, I mean, you're cheating the fans, and not just out of their fandom and their experience as a fan, you're cheating them out of their money at that point too. So I do think it's a lot more transparent, but I think that you have to look at certain officials like Scott Foster, for example, and his connection with Tim Donaghy. I mean, they exchanged hundreds of phone calls during that time of the scandal when Tim Donaghy was betting on games, and they all came from the cell phone that Donaghy used for gambling purposes. I mean, these are two grown men having conversations every day on the phone for like 2 to 3 minutes at a time. That's weird. That's not normal. And you have to look at those questions, and you have to see that these people are still involved in the NBA in some capacity.
And as you mentioned in the podcast, it's funny. They said, oh, we're just shooting it and just kicking around time, passing time with these brief phone calls. So, again, I'm not spoiling anything. Check it out. It's on Apple Podcasts. It's on Spotify. It's wherever you get your podcasts. It's The Whistleblower, and it is a phenomenal podcast. Highly recommend it to all of our listeners. Cole, once again, thanks, man. Always a pleasure having you on. And, I mean, look, if y'all got...
I should be thanking you. I should be thanking you because, I mean, this was a welcome distraction, and from day 4 of the election, so I really should be thanking you. I don't have to think about it for 30 minutes, so I appreciate it.
Hey, man. Hey, look, that's what we're here for. And I'm going to say this. If y'all have something else that you're cooking up, just let me know, because I mean, like, I want to see what else you guys have in store. I truly love the journalism. This is how it should be, and I want to see you guys do something again. So keep up the good work, and best of luck in your future, man. It's just great stuff. Thank you for joining us, man.
Yeah.